Thursday night edition of the Anaheim Calling Podcast. We're back to discuss two Ducks games that happened this week. A 4-2 loss to the San Jose Sharks earlier in the week on Monday, and then the Ducks dropping one winning last night at home 4-2 against the Arizona Coyotes. So a couple games that were about as polar opposite as possible, considering just how they went, both with the score and also just how the games were actually played. But before we get into that, no real Ducks news to talk about here. I mean, we had kind of a big State of the Union pod last week talking about different news, moves, things of that nature. And there really hasn't been anything new. No further reports about any potential trades or the Ducks' activity. It's been all quiet.
I think this is minor and expected, but after being sent down, you have Max Jones, you have Troy Terry, and who else was sent down and then called back up? Chase DeLeo.
We covered that on the last pod.
Did we?
Yeah.
No, the last regular pod that we did was before. It was like a week ago. It was over a week ago.
Regardless. So yeah, Max Jones, Troy Terry, and why am I blanking here? Maybe because we already talked about
Chase DeLeo and Blake Patella was sent down. Jakob Silfverberg was activated and played in both games, and you also have Nick Ritchie back in the lineup. So I believe that these were the first two games for those guys in a while.
Yeah. So yeah, Troy Terry, that was his return back to the Anaheim lineup against San Jose, and that was. I mean, we talked about, his progression from last season, and then how last season really struggled kind of off the bat. And then after that, he went down to the AHL, had a really productive stint in the AHL, and then came back up and had a good end of the season with Anaheim. And so you look at it now, and I thought he was decently productive down in San Diego this time around. It wasn't the kind of torrid pace that he was on last year. It also just didn't get the type of games that he had last year.
Didn't he have 7 points in 5 games?
Yeah, but last year he had 41 points in 41 games.
Yeah, so 7 points in 5 games is a better pace than he had last year.
Actually, you know what? You're selling him short. He had 10 points in 7 games.
Sorry, 10 points in 7 games. So yeah, he was on a pretty good pace. I think you may have seen something a bit off, but that's a better pace than he was on last year in 41 games.
Yep. So back up with the Ducks, and as well as Max Jones. And so going into the game against San Jose, the lines were pretty interesting. So Troy Terry goes straight from the AHL to the first line for Anaheim. So he was on the first line with Rickard Rakell, Ryan Getzlaf, and that also is partly due to the fact that Jakob Silfverberg did not play against San Jose, having a child.
Oh, so that's right. Yeah.
Pretty decent reason to miss a game. And so Devon Shore would draw in. And so the lines were a little funky. You had Nick Ritchie with Henrique and Shore, and then Jones, Steele, Kasha, Delorier, Grant, Rowney, and then the usual pairings back on the blue line. So I talked about this on the night of the game, but this was pretty much the Ducks opening night lineup. I mean, with just a couple tweaks, no Silfverberg, and instead of Brendan Gooley, you have Eric Goodbranson. So the Ducks are getting pretty healthy here.
Yeah, they definitely are. And real quick, I do want to make mention that congratulations to Jakob Silfverberg for having baby Flora, I believe his name, as Bonnie throws into our Twitch chat that's the baby's name. So, yeah, they're getting healthy and not looking too far ahead. But in the Arizona game, they're probably as healthy as they've been all season with their lineup.
Okay. And you know what? I just realized why I was getting mixed up because we did a Patreon pod over the weekend. Okay.
Exactly.
It's all blending together. My apologies. Yes. But yeah, so going into this game though, I thought that, the Sharks are bad. We can confidently say the Sharks are bad. Stefan Nason drawing in for the Sharks.
Former
Duck, was probably most famous for being involved in the Bobby Ryan trade. If nothing else, that's pretty much it because he didn't really do a whole lot as a Duck. So, the Sharks are really bad, and the Ducks are coming out of their All-Star break plus bye week. So you're thinking, okay, they were playing really well before the break, got some rest. They're going to come out and put on a decent performance with almost 99% healthy lineup. And instead, this was probably one of their worst games of the season.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was. And honestly, I don't want to hear kind of the excuse that would come out of people that
they're rusty, they're tired.
Because the Sharks were the same thing. The way the bye weeks work now in the NHL is that it's set up where essentially there's 2 different bye weeks. So either you're on the first one or you're on the second one. And half the league's on the first one, half the league's on the second one. So
and plus there was the All-Star break. So everyone got some type of break.
Yes, but my point is any team that's playing this week had a bye week last week. And any team that was playing last week has a bye week this week. And so
there's no
Sharks,
excuse for
the
rust
Sharks,
or whatever.
Yeah, the Sharks are in the same exact boat as the Ducks are. So that excuse doesn't really hold weight because both teams, and this is kind of the key here, is both teams are in the same exact scenario there. They're both rested. They both are coming off a break. Maybe you can say the Sharks were at home, but it's not as if the Ducks had to travel that far.
That long hour flight.
Yeah, exactly.
At most.
Exactly.
And this one just got off to a brutal start. I mean, it felt almost like I was picking on him during the game on Twitter because I just kept tweeting out different mistakes. But this might have been Josh Manson's worst game as a Duck that I've seen, if not in a very long time.
He had some. Sorry, go on.
The amount of mistakes and turnovers and just kind of head-scratching plays, there were quite a few of them, and there was not a whole lot that he was kind of, making up for on the offensive end of the ice.
Yeah, and I think the issue was not only were there a bunch of them, but they were noticeable enough in the fact of they were impactful in terms of pucks going in the back of the net. Look no further than I believe it was the first goal.
The very first goal of the night. So the Ducks lose a faceoff in their own zone. This isn't even 2 minutes into the game. The puck goes back to Manson, and he just, it's kind of inexplicable when you watch the play, even in real time. He just kind of throws it into the middle of the ice, and in one motion, Stefan Noesen gathers the puck, spins, fires it on net, and it beats John Gibson. Kind of, I don't know if it didn't redirect on its way in, but there was some traffic in front. And regardless, just a really bad turnover by Josh Manson there. And what's unfortunate is I thought he had made a nice play beforehand to get to that puck, winning a puck battle against almost 2 guys, and then just totally miscalculated his pass, and then just no chance there for John Gibson. So,
yeah. And one thing I want to focus on this real quick, outside of kind of what you talked about with the Manson turnover, is I feel like you and I, because we do talk about face-off somewhat,
we're a face-off driven podcast.
We do mention it from time to time that when a goal is scored directly off of a face-off win, I feel like my mentions kind of don't get blown up, but I definitely have 1 or 2 people that mention that's why face-offs matter, or see that in my Twitter feed. I think this goal kind of shows why they don't, because here's the thing. Just because you win a face-off doesn't... There's plenty of stuff that happens afterwards. It's just one battle, and this kind of shows it. Ducks won the face-off. They got scored on right away afterwards. It's not as if winning that face-off was beneficial for them because there was a play after it. That's how it always works. You have to be able to make the right play directly after the face-off, and then right after that, and then right after that. And so...
I really appreciate that you somehow took that play and turned it into an example against the importance of face-offs.
Hey,
I'm not arguing with it. I'm impressed. I'm impressed by the consistency.
Gotta be on brand. Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. That's what I said.
Exactly.
I said I don't disagree. Second goal of the game. Hey, our old buddy, Josh Manson. Or sorry, not Josh Manson. Ooh, man. Almost gave away my bias there against Josh Manson. Just kidding. Another brutal turnover by the Ducks. The puck gets dumped into their corner. Now we're not even 5 minutes into the game, mind you. And Corbin Holzer just kind of inexplicably tries to check a player without the puck. And then Jacob Larson just kind of sits there in no man's land. The puck tries to get centered by Patrick Marleau. Larson hits it back to Marleau. Like he thought that maybe Marleau had suddenly been traded to the Ducks in that instance. I'm not really sure. Well, it was really just a failed clearing attempt, and I'm being a little facetious. But regardless, the puck goes back to Marleau. He's left all alone in front, and he just tucks it home. So, hey, the Ducks most consistently played together pairing of the season, Corbin Holzer and Jacob Larson, really just a vintage one, just a vintage goals against, right right up in the records book, that one.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention outside, I feel like I have different
They're
things.
so bad. I can't get over
Well, I think there's different things on this goal specifically that you and I can focus on, because you like to focus on Jacob Larsson's mistake. What the heck was Corbinian Holzer doing there?
That's what I was saying. He checked a guy who was totally out of the play and insignificant.
Well, it's not only that, but it's also the fact that not only was the guy out of the play, Getzlaf was on his hip already.
Yeah.
Why?
Like,
why?
There was just no reason to do that. He took himself out of the play.
And the net's just wide open. It's just.
Yeah.
It's just like. I've got no words for why Corbinian Holzer. Larsson, here's the thing with Larsson. Not saying he's great, because he's far from it. But I think he's a fine, quote unquote, fine 5th or 6th defenseman. that looks.
So for those who can't see, I just had a very perplexed look on my face.
Okay, serviceable. Still.
Yeah, you're right. He was very serviceable to Patrick Marleau there. Really came through for Patrick Marleau. So you're right. It's a good word.
Well,
good
no,
usage there.
My point is that I think Holzer is the worst one of those two.
Well, sure, but I mean, okay. Congrats to Jacob Larsson on clearing that very high bar.
Fair.
Tough standard there to meet. Look, I think Jacob Larsson, he's still young. There's still time for him to get to the point where he's a respectable NHL defenseman. He has not yet arrived at that point. I don't think he's even serviceable.
Yeah.
His hockey sense is one of the worst I've seen in a long time. And, people kind of throw that term around. And the way I see it, especially for defensemen, I think it's easier to identify. He's just consistently makes poor passes, either to his teammates where it'll just be slightly off or in their skates. He always just has this tendency to turn routine plays into difficult ones. And whether that's a lack of execution or hockey sense, whatever it is, that's just an area of his game that's lacking. When if you're like a scout and you're watching him play and you're thinking, oh, he's got decent size, he seems somewhat mobile, he's got that Swedish defenseman aura, maybe we can turn him into something. But the more you watch him play, the more you realize that that's all there is to him. He's just like a guy who has tools nominally, but they don't actually shake out to anything productive on the ice. So, I mean, of course, it doesn't help that he's playing with Corbinian Holzer. We can't overlook that factor.
Yeah.
It does not help. Now, the rest of that first period was utterly forgettable for the Ducks. Just really a comedy of errors. John Gibson kept the game respectable, made a lot of saves in that first period. And again, Ducks looked totally out of sorts there. And that maybe it was to be expected coming out of the break. Dallas Eakins actually talked about how much he hated they had a break after one of their best stretches of play, those 2 games that we covered. And we thought, hey, maybe this is the start of something, positive, but the break maybe killed any momentum. Who knows? Now, in the second period, the Ducks did show some signs of life. Ondrej Kase, who we'll get into the Arizona game, but he's been playing pretty well. That line has been playing well. And shorthanded, he just kind of jumps on a turnover at the Ducks blue line and does what he does best, just speeds all the way down the rink. No one's able to catch him. And he throws on a forehand wrist shot fake that just totally breaks Arundel. I've never seen a goalie just absolutely spaz out when a guy goes for the pump fake. And so Arundel drops, and then Ondrej Kase goes over to his backhand and just flips it into the empty net. So pretty nice play there by Ondrej Kase.
I mean, Felix, let me ask you this. Do you think that you could say that Arundel was beaten by Dre? That he really, really likes those beats by Dre?
I mean, he was broken by Dre there. I mean, you really have to watch. For those who haven't seen it, you have to watch the replay, because Arundel goes down into the kind of spread eagle position with the pads flared out, and then his neck just kind of snaps to the left, and then his arm jabs the other way, and it's just very entertaining to watch.
Here's the crazy thing. I don't know if I've ever seen Ondrej Kase pull a different move on a breakaway.
Well, go ahead.
And we have a pretty decent sample size of him on shootouts, him on breakaways, him on all that different type of stuff. For a goalie to bite that hard on the fake, it's kind of impressive when you think about it.
Well, it's like I've said before. as a goalie, you have to respect that fake. You don't have to absolutely fall for it, but that move is so effective because there's not an option in it that you can just ignore. When a guy's kind of just stick handling repeatedly, like you see in shootouts, as a goalie, you can kind of ignore some of that stuff. But when a guy's coming down with speed, you can't ignore the shooting option. So that's why it works so well. However, the kind of good vibes that the Ducks were feeling after that goal did not last very long. So Patrick Marleau, who just checking the numbers here, is 40 years of age, and he gets into a puck race with Jacob Larson, who, checks notes again, is 22 years old. And to be fair, Jacob Larson was maybe a little caught flat-footed here, but he should probably be able to find a way to catch up to Patrick Marleau here. Instead, Patrick Marleau just absolutely dusts him, comes in all alone on John Gibson, fires it through the kind of 7-hole under the arm of John Gibson, and that would make it 3-1 Sharks. So, hey, Jacob Larson, we were just talking about him. Look at him just magically appear again in our highlight reel.
Yep.
And I think what's most frustrating if you're coaching up Jacob Larson here and you want to see him do well is that he actually has potentially the ability to catch up to Patrick Marleau, but instead of committing to just skating all the way back, at a certain point he reaches for the puck and that breaks his stride. And so from there, that gives Marleau the extra step that he needs to come in and score the goal. So not great.
Am I misremembering on this one? But this play also, I believe Devin Shore was the guy back defending along with Larson. For whatever reason, Holzer had jumped up in the play, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, you want Corbin and Holzer to jump in.
I mean, there is a reason why he plays on the wing from time to time.
Yeah, exactly. He's a forward. Come on, give him a little credit there.
Wow.
God, are we being too snarky?
I think it's deserved in this game.
This was truly. I mean, I'm trying to make kind of like light of it here.
The praise will come in the next game. This game deserves.
Exactly.
This game deserves this.
Exactly. See, it's almost like, hey, we're coming up to a Ducks fan who hasn't watched either game, who's just been totally out of the loop. It's like, okay, which one do you want to hear first? The good news or the bad news? Okay, so this first half of the pod, we're focusing on the bad news. But believe me, on the other side, there will be plenty of good to talk about. So just hang tight. Hang tight here. We're going to get through this. Just like Stefan Nason got through the Ducks defense on the Sharks' fourth goal. So Sharks working their way down in the offensive zone, in the Duck zone, and then Erik Karlsson just feeds a wide open Stefan Nason in the slot. Just nobody there from Anaheim to check him. Manson, Fowler puck watching, and I think the Ducks were actually caught on a change on this one. Either way, it's a really nice finish by Nason, so I'll give him some credit there. That would make it 4-1 early in the third period and pretty much nullify any hope of the Ducks comeback. Late in the third period, though, I mean, Nick Ritchie scored a really pretty power play goal. So, hey, Nick Ritchie, power play threat. How does that sound?
Hey,
he comes in.
Nick Ritchie actually good?
Nick Ritchie is actually good. We've talked about this many times, and he proved us right once again on this play. And he did it in a very non-Nick Ritchie fashion because he comes down the right wing, puts on a little move, and then just absolutely roofs the puck high short side on Aaron Dell. I mean, to be fair, it is Aaron Dell. He's probably one of the, 10 worst goaltenders in the NHL. He's up there. But it's a nice move by Ritchie. It's a nice finish, and that would make it 4-2. Ducks try to get some pressure at the end. Wouldn't count for anything, and they end up dropping this one 4-2. So here we are. After that game, what were your thoughts?
The tank was on?
Is that what this is about?
No, but that's what I thought at the time. I mean, this was just an awful, awful performance. I mean, like we said, this was the worst performance of the season for a Ducks team, and this is coming off the All-Star break, coming into the second half of the year. Basically, they're now going to the stretch run where you're going to have to evaluate some players, and some tough decisions are going to have to be made on certain guys, and it was just a no-show. There's no other way to put it. And so in my head, and so from a game-by-game perspective, this was awful and makes you think maybe the tank is fully on. Maybe they are going to go to the bottom if they continue to play like this.
What was most concerning after that game was just how badly everyone performed outside of a decent performance from the Kasha Jones Steele line, who, I mean, you had Kasha get a goal, and I just thought overall they played pretty well. No one else was really good for the Ducks.
Yeah,
You look at the lines and pairings, no one made any sort of impact, and that's concerning.
Well,
to
and we
say the
talk
least.
about Larson Holzer, and we've kind of harped on them because of some of the mistakes they made.
Yeah, everyone was bad.
If you're looking at expected goals for percentage, they were the best pairing on the night.
Yeah.
If that happens, that's not good. That's really not good.
It's not good. Okay, so we're gonna go into our first break here. Everyone breathe. It's over, and we'll be right back. Okay, back from the first break. So, all right, we ripped the Band-Aid off. Hurts a little bit, but we're good now. The pain is over. We've got a fun game to talk about. So last night, Wednesday, the Ducks win a 4-2 decision over the Arizona Coyotes. The Arizona Coyotes, who, unlike the San Jose Sharks, are a pretty good team. They're a playoff team.
Yeah.
They've got some talent. They've got Taylor Hall. They've got Kachina jerseys.
They've got
Phil Kessel. They're a real NHL team.
They're fun.
They're fun.
Kind
they're
of.
Jake's second favorite team.
I don't know if that's true.
Maybe fourth favorite. Jake's got a few teams.
I got a lot. You know, you got to spread the wealth.
You got to hedge your bets, is what you mean.
That is actually the truth.
You got to hedge your emotional bets.
There you go.
Now, so a couple things to note before this game that were interesting. So, no Holzer in this one. Del Zotto draws in.
Correct.
Jakob Silfverberg makes his return to the lineup, and so new look lines for the Ducks going to this one. You had Raquel, Getzlaff, and Silfverberg as the top line, which is actually an NHL first line, I would argue.
Yeah.
Maybe we overrate that a little bit. Maybe now it's a second line, but it's still a legit top six line.
It's a line that can generate goals.
That can do stuff. It's important to do stuff. And then you had Jones, Steele, Kasha as the second line, I guess nominally the second line. Nice little nod there after their performance against San Jose. And then you had Ritchie, Henrique, and Terry as the third line. So Troy Terry demoted after one game?
I mean, he was shifted during the game.
Yeah. No, well, just to clarify, I'm, again, being sarcastic. So obviously with Silfverberg back, you got to put Terry. Well, you either keep Terry there or you move him around, but Silfverberg's got to play up high in the lineup. And I actually like the look of Terry with Ritchie and Henrique because I think that Ritchie is a guy who obviously is going to drive play for you, win those battles, do the little things. And then Henrique is kind of in that same vein. And so Terry can just work off of those guys and get his opportunities.
Well, and I think the nice thing is we've talked about this a fair amount that Henrique's kind of a trigger man.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like most centers where he's creative. I don't think he's a guy that's going to go and get a shot for someone else. He's not going to be that playmaker, and I think Terry can do that for him, even though, yes, Terry should be creating shots for himself. I think him having the ability to find guys that can shoot the puck for him is a good thing. And also, should we just get into my Terry opinion?
Well, hold on. We're going to have a very ample opportunity to talk about it.
Fair.
So we're going to get to it. And then Delorier, Grant Rowney. And I was half expecting Dallas Eakins to go back to the old pairings after that game against San Jose because of just how much they didn't work. But hey, that's why he's a coach and I'm not, because maybe that game just wasn't representative coming off the break. Let's give him another shot. And they would stick with it, and the pairings would play really well. And Del Zotto looked good next to Jacob Larson. John Gibson, of course, back in the nets. Now, really unfortunately, maybe the most notable part of the night. Before the game, the Ducks held a really nice ceremony for the victims of the tragic helicopter crash that occurred over the weekend in Calabasas. Of course, Kobe Bryant and his daughter. Just absolutely tragic, gut-wrenching. And I thought that the Ducks did a nice job to honor the victims and to really do it in a way that wasn't over the top, but also really did it right. I mean, you look at the people who were in that crash, a lot of them were not key figures, but, notable people in the Orange County community. And Kobe Bryant, of course, I mean, legend, and also a pretty known member of the Orange County community. So we talked about it on the Patreon pod on Sunday. Totally gut-wrenching, but I thought that the Ducks did it right to just get it out of the way, make sure that they express just how much he meant to this community and to the world of sports. And I've got nothing else to say. I don't know. It's tough to talk about still.
Yeah, and I think when we did that podcast on Sunday was kind of hard, honestly. Looking back on it, because it was so fresh in our mind, because I think we sat down to record maybe an hour.
I actually think it's harder now, because now it feels more real in a way. When it first broke, of course it felt real, but now as the days go by, I don't know, maybe I'm just in denial. Maybe these are the stages of grief, but you just get that thought of, oh, yeah, it's not, there's no going back. This happened.
Yeah. And I think,
very sad.
Not trying to sidetrack too much, but I mean,
it's fine. It's a big deal.
It's a massive deal, but yeah, it's just the thing that's, I think the outpouring of support, the outpouring of love around the world, not just in Southern California, because obviously he meant the world to everyone in Southern California and LA and Orange County. He was a massive figure, and not to everyone else. Everyone's important there, and it's awful, but to see the outpouring of support from everyone in the country, in the world, it's touching to see Madison Square Garden lit up purple and gold, to see the CN Tower lit up purple and gold, to, I believe, the Coyotes tonight lit up their arena purple and gold, and it's touching, and I think it just kind of shows how much he meant, and I think that's important, and I think I was actually at the game last night, and to be there for that, it was a moment. It's something that I'll probably never forget. And I think the Ducks did a really good job with it. And I think that having everyone put up their lights, it was really touching. It was really, really touching. I think having the Angels out there to have another kind of Southern California organization, it really hit home. Having the 24 puck, the 24-second moment of silence. We'll get into some more of the kind of numerology type stuff that's a little bit eerie, but just kind of hits home with everything that's happened, and how it seems like everyone who really kind of Kobe touched, like Trae Young going off on the weekend, and it's just kind of a sign, and I don't know, it's very touching.
Well, yeah, and
sorry for that sidetrack a bit.
If you haven't checked it out already, there's a video, because TNT did a special talking about Kobe and what he meant to different people, and Shaq had a really good, because obviously we are all talking about Kobe like we knew him, but Shaq was actually his teammate for many years and had all the highest of highs, lowest of lows, and I thought that maybe he had one of the best points I've heard people come out of this with is just, hey, let the people you care about know you love them. Let them, don't go. I mean, he said that the last time he spoke to Kobe was 3 years ago, right? He never got it. He never talked to him again. And imagine having that feeling now, right? Where you're not going to get that opportunity. So I thought that was a very salient point by Shaq.
Yep.
Moving on.
Yes.
Let's get into the game. So This one started off hot and ready for the Ducks. I mean, just 5 minutes into the game, your boy, your favorite player, Troy Terry, comes down the left wing, not the right wing, the left wing. He makes a pretty nice play in the neutral zone, picking off a pass from the Coyotes. You could argue maybe it wasn't a great pass to begin with, but a nice play nonetheless to just kind of read that, jump up and make the interception. And then he comes back down and winds up a shot. Really uses that space effectively. On the replay, you can see he's looking everyone off, trying to sell potentially a passing option, and then just fires it on net. Not the hardest shot, but it goes in off of Adam Henrique's leg and would give Anaheim the lead. Now, of course, Adam Henrique is going to get credited with the goal, but that goal was all Troy Terry.
Yes. And this was something I mentioned during the San Jose game, actually, on Twitter, because there was, I think, a rush or something like that where, if you've noticed Troy Terry, I think one of the biggest issues I've seen with him is that he kind of loses the puck on the board on the right side, and he tries to, as a right-handed shot on the right-hand side, your kind of tendency is to try to go around a guy on the right side, and the issue is he's kind of, being a smaller guy, he can get ridden into the board and end up losing the puck. So, in this game and on this play, he actually entered the zone because of intercepting the pass on the left-hand side. I've kind of thought about it in the Sharks game, and obviously it played out here, that he may be better suited for the left wing. Now, granted, if you're a right-handed shot on the left wing, you have to have good puck skills to not have it stripped from you, because the benefit of playing the right side if you're a right-handed shot is that the puck's close to the board, you're able to protect it. The benefit of playing the left wing as a right-handed shot is the puck's in a more dangerous position the entire time. But having said that, it's harder to protect it because it's more open for defenders to get to it. So the thing with Terry, though, is the move that he loves is the little toe drag to change the angle on the shot and shoot it between defenders' legs. And while that can be effective from the right side, being a right-handed shot coming down the wing, the left side, you have a better shooting angle than you do on the right side because you have a pretty tough angle on the right side. And I just feel like with his shot, with that move, and with his playmaking ability, when you're right-handed shot on the left side, you can kind of see the ice a little bit better because it's where the stick is. It's where your chest is kind of facing. You're able to read the play a little bit more. Whereas a right-handed shot, you're kind of looking over your shoulder a little bit more to see and scan the ice. And so
yeah,
it's just something that I noticed that I'm curious about, that it's almost like his game is more so suited to play on his off wing than it is on the strong side.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with that because
Okay.
I think he's been very good on the right side in the AHL, and I think he's just shown he can be good on the right side. I don't disagree with you that he could be good on the left side, but I think he's fine on the right side. Now, my favorite thing about this take of yours, because it's just so niche, you know that tweet? It's like, no one, absolutely no one. Jake Rudolph, Troy Terry should play on the left wing.
Yep.
It's just like no one is talking about this, but I appreciate it. Again, you're coming through today. You're coming through really.
I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for
You're-
that value.
You're on brand. You're on brand.
Sometimes you need to come up with these weird, out there opinions that might hold some weight.
Yeah. No,
I mean, they make sense. There's a logic behind it, right?
Yeah, there's a logic. There's certainly a logic. I'm here for it.
Then you could have Sprong and Terry on a line together.
Yeah, that's what we're just trying to get to here. That's the ultimate.
How much would you love that? I think that would be fun.
Our two kids.
I think that would be fun.
Our two kids combining forces. Oh God. Okay.
Oh, I don't think we mentioned that Sprong was sent down and not called back up on the regular show.
Oh yeah. Well, now I'm putting into question everything. So yeah, Sprong sent down and not called back up, which is a shame, but that's the nature of it.
Yes.
Like I said on the Patreon episode, I think that at this point, getting a legit stint in the NHL for Sprong and having it be a positive one, I think overall it was positive. Yeah. I think that that's a key step for him.
Agreed.
Total random aside now, but you brought it up, so I blame you.
Always my fault.
Do we see Daniel Sprong get traded at the deadline?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think he has that value.
Yeah, but it's not really about that. It's just where does he fit on this team long term?
Yeah,
or even in the medium term.
No, I think he gets another year at least. He's still young.
I agree with you, but there is no room for him in this lineup. Like the guys that are ahead of him are not going away. You have Ondrej Kase, who's signed. You have Troy Terry, who's going to stick around. You have Jakob Silfverberg, who's definitely signed. And you have Carter Rowney, who's signed for another year.
Do you have Jakob Silfverberg?
Well, you like, God, I keep saying like. I'm so sorry. I'm rusty with the podcasting. So someone shame me for that, please.
Bonnie will, don't worry.
Yeah, Bonnie will shame me for it. It's okay. With Jakob Silfverberg, look, if he gets traded, which I know you think that could happen, I just see that as a tough deal to pull off. And I don't know if that's a deadline type deal. That might be more of a draft day deal.
That's true. But still, there may be space.
Maybe. So we'll just have to see. Okay, tangent over. Second goal of the game, Vinny Hinostroza would put the Coyotes on the board. Transition play. He gets a pass wide open in the slot and just beats John Gibson. Really nothing that Gibson can do there. John Gibson, I thought, also had a pretty good game against Arizona. Let in maybe a goal definitely let in a goal he would want back. But I thought overall he had a good game.
Well, yeah, he had a couple just absolutely insane saves in this game. He had the breakaway save.
I would say he had 3 insane saves.
What was it? Stepan? That he
Yeah.
had the breakaway save where I don't know if you can pull off a better move than what Stepan did. He pulled off that move, and Gibson just finds a way to make the save. And then he had a couple leg extension saves that were just so good. Yeah, he was on top of his game last night.
Absolutely. Now, getting into the rest of this game here. So, Ondrej Kase, who we talked about against San Jose, having a nice performance with that goal, did not score against Arizona, but had a play that was maybe just as, if not more remarkable than his actual goal. So, a nice zone entry by Adam Henrique, dishes it off to Ondrej Kase, who gets it on his forehand as he's almost as if he has his back to the actual goal, and then in one motion spins to his backhand and gets it over to Adam Henrique in the slot, who tucks it in past Antti Raanta. So I don't know how he thought to do this, but it almost looked like a set play because Adam Henrique did not look surprised at all. It went perfectly to him. The Coyotes did not have any time to react because it just happened so quickly. Just a beautiful, beautiful play by Ondrej Kase. Maybe the nicest pass I've seen executed in that way, at least, by a Duck in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, Antti Raanta didn't get his beat by Dre's, but you could definitely say that you could say the Arizona defense definitely had on their beats by Dre.
Yeah, that was just a really nice play. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, go watch it again. If you've already seen it, go watch it again.
It's so nice, and to have that type of ability to pull off that move and then make that pass. That's not an easy pass to make and put it on his stick. When you're spinning like that, to be accurate, and I believe that was on his backhand making that pass. Especially
when you watch him actually where his head is at, he's not actually looking at Adam Henrique until the very last second.
Yeah.
So he got that pass and he knew he was doing that.
Yeah.
There was no other thought in his mind of what he was going to do. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Now, in the second period, Hampus Lindholm would get the Ducks on the board, and a really nice play. So the Coyotes go to clear the zone, and Hampus Lindholm is able to actually keep it in. And, it wasn't the Coyotes. It was the Ducks missing a pass. So he's able to keep it in at the blue line and then just wires a slap shot that goes top glove side on Antti Raanta. This may be an objectionable goal by Raanta.
Yeah.
Can we agree on that?
This is not a goal that Raanta should let in.
But I thought it was a nice play by Lindholm, though, to keep the play alive, to get the shot through.
Yeah.
Give Lindholm a little credit here.
For sure. And Derek Grant with an assist on the play. So adding to that trade value.
Oh my goodness! Don't you worry. We'll get. There's definitely more Derek Grant coming to this podcast in just a few seconds. But I should mention before we get to that, John Gibson save on Derek Stepan. Maybe this was just
save of the season for him.
This was just a game of highlights for the Ducks. I mean, you had the Ondrej Kase assist, and then on this play, you have Derek Stepan, who just gets behind the entire Ducks team, gets fed a stretch pass, comes in all alone, throws on a fake. Gibson goes down and just stretches out his glove and manages to stop it almost on the goal line. Now, you could argue Stepan should have probably just lifted the puck, but how many times do you see a goalie actually make that save? It was really impressive.
Yeah, it's an insane save. We
By
talked
the
about
way,
it a little bit more.
Bonnie with a really good comment in our.
It's true. It's very true.
Chat. You are trade drunk.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to say on this to anyone out there. Drunk. I've always loved the trade deadline. It's always been one of the most fun times for me as a fan. The thing I've always equated it to is there are people out there that like to read celebrity gossip. That's something they love to do. They like to watch The Bachelor, all these weird reality shows. This is essentially that for me. That's how I've always put it. Is reading the rumors.
I don't think that makes it any better.
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm just equating it, giving it not justifying it because
you're explaining.
Yes, exactly. So it's the reading all the rumors. It's coming up. It's figuring out a way that the roster can get better in the future, and you're almost armchair GMing. It's fun.
It's fun. Let Jake have fun, Bonnie. Let him do his thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He is trade drunk though. I just like that.
It's just funny.
I just like that expression.
Trade drunk.
Okay, we're going to go into our second break here. And on the other side of that, we're going to finish up the recap and get into some questions. So we'll be right back. Okay, back from the second break. So Lawson Krause would bring it within one for Arizona towards the end of the second period. Not a good goal from John Gibson here. We were just talking about how great of a save he had. And on this one, it's a bad angle shot on his backhand, on his off wing for Krause. Just kind of throws it at the net. And we've talked about this before a little bit on the podcast, but John Gibson has a bit of trouble with post play because he goes down in that reverse VH and isn't really able to manage his post well enough, and the puck just kind of goes in off of him. So maybe if there's one thing that Gibson needs to clean up in the offseason, it's managing those posts of his and figuring out what the best technique is going to be for him, both on passes and shots. Anyway, it's something to monitor. Now, maybe the craziest moment of the night. Now, the Ducks had already won, not won this game, but had, let's say, put it away. Carter Rowney. Do you want to tell this one?
Sure. So in the lead up to this, because being in the building, everyone was kind of in the crowd. We're getting very annoyed at the officiating. Nick Ritchie got a penalty for essentially.
Yeah, come on.
The first one was a legit penalty.
So you didn't watch the broadcast, but
no, I did not.
Let's just say there were fireworks.
Yeah. So you could say Nick Ritchie deserved the first penalty. The rough or the unsportsmanlike.
Oh, he absolutely deserved a penalty. The only objection to that was that maybe Taylor Hall should have gotten a penalty as well.
Yeah, probably. But Nick Ritchie was. The retaliation always gets caught. Nick Ritchie, with gloves off as they're tied up, takes 2 body shots on Taylor Hall. That's why he got called for a penalty. That is the only reason. So that was probably a fair call. And then gets out of the box. Phantom tripping call. I think that's.
Well, the thing is, okay, so the guy's rounding the corner. He kind of pushes him, and the guy falls into the boards. Now, I'm not saying it was the right call, but you could see how a ref would make that call.
Yeah, and
I think see a guy fall. And by the way, it's funny how people are shocked that Nick Ritchie doesn't have the benefit of the doubt with the officials,
seeing as everyone says that he takes too many penalties.
Yeah, exactly.
So, while on that penalty kill, though, on the second Ritchie penalty. I believe Antti Ranta misplays the puck or leaves it for his defenseman, who misplays it. Derek Grant gets in, fires a shot on the net. The rebound sitting there, and Carter Rowney scores. And as it turns out, this was the 24th shot of the game. This was the 24th home game for the Ducks this season. Carter Rowney wears number 24, and I have not confirmed this, but I saw someone tweet out that there were 24 seconds left in the penalty also.
Pretty wild.
And it's to make the score 2-4 in the Ducks' favor.
Yep.
There are certain things out there that just can't be explained.
Well, so Dallas Aikens had a good quote on this after the game.
Yes.
He said, for that to happen, so referring to the kind of the oddity there, for that to happen, I'm not sure what to believe sometimes when it comes to religion and things like that, but I do wonder, did that happen by accident, or was that part of the night? I get goosebumps just standing here talking about it, that it actually happened tonight. So I think he said it best.
It's one of those things. And as it turns out, in a losing fashion, actually, the Kings also game ended 2-4.
Yeah,
which is also in some ways kind of eerie.
And the Ducks have had 2-4 games this week.
Yes, and you look at this. You look at when Tyler Skaggs tragically passed away, and the fact that they threw the no-hitter, or was it a combined perfect game? I'm actually forgetting off the top of my head whether it was combined perfect game or combined no-hitter. Sorry for anyone out for if that's wrong, but the fact that these certain things happen, it's just there's no way to explain it.
It's just insane.
And it's just there's no better way for the game to end. And honestly, near the end of the game when the Ducks had an empty net to shoot at, I did not want them to score because the game should have ended as a 2-4 score.
Yeah.
That was the only way that game should have ended. And I mean, what a way to honor Kobe Bryant and honor all the people. And so it was a combined no-hitter is what George is saying. So a very special night. I think one that I'll always remember. I was very happy to
It
be
was
in
a good game.
attendance.
The
Yeah.
the
Well,
Ducks played very well.
yeah. So on top of all that, it was an entertaining game. Also, I think the Ducks weren't super sound defensively. I think they were definitely better than the Coyotes, but they did allow some chances, like the breakaway, for instance. But sometimes that's fun. And at this point in time for the Ducks this season, let's not sugarcoat this. They're not making the playoffs at this point.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Last time I checked Money Puck, they have a 2.2% chance of making it.
Yes. So 2% chance.
So there is a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, 2% chance. So there you go. But all I want from the Ducks this season, whether they win, whether they lose, now there will be people out there that will want them to lose for the tank, and I get it, and maybe I'll be there in a little bit, but at this point in time, just entertain me. That's all I can ask for.
That seems fair. That seems like a fair request.
Speaking of the tank, before we get into some questions, now that we're kind of through this game, all the different major prospect writers, whether it's like Chris Peters at ESPN, whether it's Corey Pronman at The Athletic, Bob McKenzie at TSN, all put out their big board, their ranking of prospects. What do you think after reading that? Because this is really the first kind of prospect ranking we've had since like October.
Well, what I think is if the Ducks get a high pick, they will get a good player.
Wow.
Like, what else is there to say?
Well, no, so just kind of my thoughts on it is I think the top 8 is where you want to be. It seems like to me, obviously, the top 2 are pretty set with it being Lafreniere and Byfield. After that, it's kind of all in flux. Some people have it's a mix of Stützle, Holtz, Raymond, Drysdale, Perfetti, Rossi. And they're all kind of bring different things to the table and do very different things. And I think if the Ducks can get into that top 5, they're going to be in good shape. Because if you can get one of Lafreniere, Byfield, Drysdale, Stützle, or Holtz, those are guys that could potentially step in and have an impact next year.
Yeah.
Because Stützle is, for those that don't know, he's playing over in the German league. And so he's actually, isn't he over a point per game?
Yeah.
Playing over, he's over a point per game on one of the best teams in the German league, and playing against men. And Alexander Holtz is a similar thing in Sweden, playing against men and doing a pretty good job over there. So these are guys that are experienced, and the benefit of drafting, just for anyone out there that doesn't know, the benefit of drafting someone who's playing in Europe right now is they can play in the AHL next year. If the Ducks were to, Lafreniere and Byfield are different scenarios. They're most likely going to the NHL. But if they're going to draft like a Rossi or a Perfetti or a Drysdale, those guys have to be on the Ducks or they're going back to junior.
All right.
So there you go.
Yeah. Getting back to this game, though, just overall, Ducks had some really solid performances up and down the lineup. All of the pairings had really good numbers on the night, controlling play. Fowler Manson, 58.6% expected goals. Delzato Larson, 69%. Lindholm Goodbranson, way above 80%. So that's a really big positive. Yeah. Now, one thing that I kind of should mention is that the Coyotes are a good team. They're an exciting team, but their playoff hopes are not set in stone. So this isn't like an elite team by any means, but still, they're a playoff caliber team. So
that makes
it's important to note that.
They're in a playoff hunt right now, so they're in a big rush. So, yeah. I mean, that makes these points even more critical for them. And so, it's not
exactly. And the Raquel, Getzlaf, Silverberg line, Richie, Henrique, Terry line, even the fourth line, all had really good numbers on the night. Yeah. So positive.
The Ducks followed up one of their worst performances with one of their better.
So now, who the hell knows what we're gonna get this weekend?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I've got nothing else really on that game. I thought that Hampus Lindholm had a really good night. Obviously had that goal, but when he was on the ice, the Ducks controlled 85.86 of the expected goals. He had 5 shot attempts of his own, and he played just under 25 minutes on the night. So that's a pretty vintage performance there from Hampus Lindholm.
Yeah.
And looking ahead here, so the Ducks are going to play, by the time you're listening to this, probably tonight, but Friday night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that should be That should be an interesting one because we just talked about the Ducks being a good team. Well, the Ducks might be playing the best team in the NHL tomorrow night. And
Yeah.
so that's going to be quite the
Yeah.
test. Let's temper the expectations after this win, but it should be interesting.
It's kind of scary that Tampa is probably better this year than they were last year in terms of just underlying metrics.
I mean, if nothing else, just that they're still as good, that they're still, but yeah. And then from that perspective, yeah, they're still there. I mean, they're even more dominant. So I'm not a Tampa Bay Lightning fan by any means, but I almost want them to win just to get it out of the way. And by win, I mean win the Stanley Cup. Just get it out of the way. I hate seeing really, really good teams never actually go all the way and win one. Like when the Capitals won it, that was such a relief. Finally, we don't have to talk about how they can't get it done in the playoffs. Do you share this sentiment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm someone who definitely wants to see, as the years have gone on, I feel like...
And they're such a well-run organization, too.
Well, I think as the years have gone on, I used to love the chaos of the playoffs and thought that's what made the NHL great. The fact that anyone can win, the fact that the 8th seed can beat the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
As I get older, I kind of just want to see the best team win.
Well, I think it's a bit of both.
Well,
you love the upsets, but also at a certain point you want to see the best teams get rewarded for doing things the right way.
And that's, I think, the key is that I feel like when teams that are legitimately very good from an underlying metric perspective get upset, maybe this is more so where it's coming from. People in a way start to say, oh, that's why the metrics don't matter. And in reality, it's like, no, it's a small sample size. The games don't always turn out as they should in the playoffs because you're playing a 7-game series. And so
everything is about the numbers for Jake Rudolph.
No, it's just the fact of it's thrown back in your face by people. And it's like, oh, no, yeah. I'd like at one point in time to just see the best team win. The team that is the best team that is playing the best.
Hey, here's some advice. Just don't listen to those people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You don't have to be, ruled by these people.
That's
anyway,
true. That's true.
Okay. We'll get through it. Now, one thing that's interesting, because now that we're on this topic of the Lightning, just looking at the probabilities on Money Puck for the highest probability to win the Cup, they have Washington leading the way with 8.8%. And then they have Tampa Bay at 7.9, St. Louis at 7.4, and Colorado at 7.3. So there's kind of this cluster of really good teams. What's interesting is that on Money Puck, the probability for Boston to win the Stanley Cup is at 4.8%. And in Dom Luszczyszyn's model over at The Athletic, Boston leads the league at 12%. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not too sure. He also has Tampa Bay at 22%. So either way, it's going to be a fun playoffs.
So let's get into some questions. So for those of you out there watching on YouTube, yes, you can find us on YouTube by searching for the AC Pod. And if you want to help us out there, you can subscribe to the channel, like these videos. If you comment there, I will be monitoring them as we get some comments on those and replying there or mentioning them here, whatever really is needed in response. We also obviously have the recorded version, but the real fun part of this show is our Twitch stream. We do a stream of the show each and every time where you can see our beautiful faces and find us at twitch.tv/acpod. And you can join in live with the other people in the chat as we've been mentioning it. You get your questions asked live. You get to basically have a real good time. And with the Twitch stream, you can help support the show. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime sub each and every month. After every 30 days, you do have to hit that subscribe button that is above Felix's head. If you're on desktop, Felix, point up. There you go. Hit that every 30 days, and you help support the show in a way that is actually very, very helpful. So we actually got a new resub, Diehard24Fan24, resubbed for 13 months. So thank you so much for that. So we've got a couple questions. George asks us, Cinnamon Toast Crunch ice cream is on the way. How excited are you?
I don't care.
Yeah. Sure. I don't know. It sounds fine. I don't know. I'll try it. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see where I'm at with this diet at that point in time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we should mention that. We should expose you to the world here.
What is there to expose?
Jake is a gym head now. Gym head.
6 out of 7.
Yeah, he's working out.
Pushing it. Gotta get that those beer league stats up.
It really does make a difference. It really does make a difference.
It does. All right. So we had this question from Varluna said, who might be on the trade block for the Ducks? So
okay, so let's I want to amend this question because I know what you're going to say. I know because you've written articles about it and we've talked about them.
What am I going to say?
Well, you're just going to name everyone and anyone and everyone because as Bonnie so astutely pointed out, you are trade drunk.
Well, no, I have one very specific that I do want to mention right now, though.
Okay,
and
who?
There's a reason.
Who?
So the reason why I want to mention him is his name's been thrown around, not necessarily in the fact that they've heard his name in trade rumors, but you're seeing more and more national reporters mention his name in terms of being linked to different places, and that is Josh Manson.
Okay.
And I think that's interesting that his name's popping up outside of just our own conversations.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. He's such a logical trade candidate. Who do you realistically think is getting traded? Realistically.
Derek Grant and Michael Del Zotto?
You think the Ducks are trading Derek Grant?
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking 3 times 2.1.
If that happens...
Hey,
if
he's getting happens, the Zach Cassian deal.
If that happens, I may just scream on this show.
I wouldn't be so sure Derek Grant is getting traded.
I may go Steve Dangle on this show.
I actually want this to happen now just to see the meltdown.
I may become... I
hope meltdown.
Does anyone out there remember this was back when Toronto was bad and it was way more fun to watch Steve Dangle because the meltdowns were very entertaining back then?
Yeah, let's get Jake to melt down here.
Back when I believe it was Nat in like the 2013 season, maybe 2014, maybe where Nashville blew out Toronto and Steve Dangle had a nice little meltdown on his LFR. Yeah, that may be where I'm at it because I think I got close to that level when the Ducks traded for Derek Grant. When you and I recorded a show for Patreon, and during the show, I believe the Derek Grant trade happened. And I think I nearly had a meltdown on it.
Yeah, I do remember that.
That might be one of my favorite episodes, to be honest.
I remember. I think Josh Manson is a good pick because the more I kind of look at this, I doubt we see Henrique or Silverberg get traded at the deadline.
Probably not.
I just doubt it. Too much. It's just too much stuff. It's too much stuff for teams to think about in a restricted window. I think we see Manson get moved. I'm not 100% on that, but I think he's likely. Another name that I could see is Ondrej Kase. Friendly deal.
Would you like to elaborate?
Friendly deal. So he's got 2 years. Well, he's got a year left after this at 2.6. He's only 24, and he's going to be an RFA after this current contract, so he's under team control. Now, you could argue those are the reasons why the Ducks should keep him, but they've already traded him once, and the trade just didn't go through because Justin Falk didn't want to re-sign it with Anaheim. But I could see Kase getting moved because I think that there is interest for Kase for those reasons. And ultimately, it's a push and pull. You can't just offload guys. You have to sell off what other people want. So I could see him being out there. And then if I'm going to go with a third candidate, that might be it, actually. I don't think Ryan Miller's getting traded.
No, I mean, he wasn't traded last year.
So I think Kase, because Kase and Manson,
and honestly,
they fit the mold. They fit the mold of good youngish player with a contract that's not too difficult to move.
Here's an interesting question that pops in my head because of bringing up Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller has not been that good this year. I don't think
what is his value?
Yeah, that's my the return for him is not that great because he hasn't been that great. Now, granted, some team may overpay because of experience, things like that, but it's not as if he's this answer. I've seen people throw out his name to Toronto because then that gives them a backup goalie for Freddie if Freddie gets hurt, but it's not as if he's been great this year, and especially with the wheel, like the type of game that Toronto plays, I don't think he's the answer to their problem. Last year, maybe you could have made that argument, but I mean, age comes for us all, and Ryan Miller has kind of fallen down a bit this year, which, I mean, he's 38 years old?
He's 39.
39 years old? Like, that's for a goalie, that's very old.
He's going to be 40 this summer.
So yeah, so he has a lot of wear and tear on that body. So I don't really know if you can get a whole lot for him, and I don't know if it's worth it to move him. I mean, here's my question for you: what would it take for you to move him?
I mean, a third, a fourth,
Would you
anything.
move? Yeah, okay, fair. Yeah, that's fair.
He's not coming back.
That's
If
fair.
you offer me
That's
a fifth,
fair.
I'll do it.
That's fair. Fair. All right, so we got this question. Varluna also asked, I saw rumors that Sammy Vatanen might be up for a trade. Do the Ducks try to get him back? I don't think so.
It wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't make sense because isn't he a UFA this summer?
Well, yes. That's the thing is his age doesn't really fit with this team's kind of future.
And he's more of a rental, and so the Ducks aren't going to be looking for a rental.
Hey, that 2% chance. Don't forget it.
Yeah. And then Ginger Wolf had two things. First one was a question. Actually, not a question. He just missed us. We missed you too.
Oh.
Happy to have this back.
Oh.
Ginger Wolf also asked, is Kase a future first liner if he stays with the Ducks?
Hey, after these past two games, he's shown some flashes.
Let me modify that question. Do you think with where his game is, with the underlying numbers, the shot metrics that he has, do you think he has the potential to become a first liner?
Yeah, I think he could be a complimentary first liner where he might not necessarily be the guy that stirs the drink on the first line, but he can be a guy who makes that can help a first line go. Yeah. I just see him as a guy who can play anywhere in a lineup.
Yeah. Well, and that's really beneficial.
But on true talent, I don't know if I really see him as a first liner though. Maybe that's the spirit of the question.
Yeah, I think he's probably more of a second liner. I just don't think he has the shooting talent of a first liner.
I also just don't see him as that skilled.
Well, I think he has the shot production and the shot rate production, but there's just not enough of a shooting talent or a skill.
He's not really a finisher, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, maybe that does grow into his game.
Unless he just gets breakaways every game.
I mean, Brad Marchand has had the late career renaissance, so maybe.
But that's the exception to the rule.
I know. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Was it?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. if all of a sudden at 26 or 27, he starts playing at an insane level, I may bring this conversation up again. Bonnie has a question, kind of, sort of. I would like Felix to talk about my good friend, Good Branson. Is he up to the task?
Up to the task? That seems vague.
Yeah, that's why I said kind of, sort of. What do you think of Eric Goodbranson so far? What have you thought of him as a Duck? Here's a fun thing. Do you think the Ducks move him?
Well,
trade drunk. Remember, Bonnie, you brought this upon yourself.
Trade drunk. Jake just immediately going to the trade idea. Well, I think he's been really good with the Ducks, but I also think that I don't know where he really fits with their long-term plans because he's 28 and he's got another year left on his deal after this year. Ultimately, I don't know if he ends up as a Duck long-term, but he's been very good next to Cam Fowler. Now, those pairings have been switched up. I didn't think he looked particularly good against San Jose. Again, nobody did, so you almost throw that one out. But I've been impressed by him.
Against Arizona, he was really good. That when you're on Money Puck looking at the defense pairings, the Lindholm and Branson pairing, you actually can't see their percentage because they're so far up. I think they're in the high 80s. Expected goals for 1.1, something like that. Expected goals against 0.16. So, all right, Georgie Conn.
Bonnie asking if I'm up to the task. Now now
you just feel called out.
I guess I'm called out.
Yeah.
I would respond yes though. I am up to the task.
I mean, you just did.
Okay.
You just did talk about him. So there you go. Here we go. Georgie Conn asks us, do you think Ondrej Kase has put away what seemed like his reluctancy to drive the net because of possible risk for injury?
I don't know if we've really seen him shy away from that.
Well, I don't even know if we ever saw him shy away from that in the first place. I think that was one of the concerns, was that even after these injuries, he's kept going to those places, and that may have caused some more of the injuries. I think what's been beneficial is he's almost, in a way, been able to pick and choose his spots, so he's not putting himself into as many vulnerable spots.
Right. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, he does have to adjust his game somewhat, because I do think the way he plays, he does expose himself to risk, like other players maybe don't as much.
Yeah. So I think that's going to do it for us, though, tonight. I don't think there are any more questions in the
Great.
Twitch chat. So thank you, everyone, for joining in with the chat. This has been a really fun one.
This was a fun pod. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and for everyone that's listening in on the recorded version. Hope you're having a great week. Wishing you a great Super Bowl weekend. Go 49ers. Bring it home. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. I know if Jake's favorite soccer team was in some sort of final, we wouldn't be hearing the end of it. So
yeah,
I get this moment.
Hey, I've given you the moments. Would you like a moment to talk about the 49ers, about them going to the Super Bowl? Would you like another moment?
No, that was plenty. That was all I needed.
Okay, fair.
That was all I needed.
I think we're recording our next episode. We're planning on it on Sunday morning. So
Sunday morning.
Felix may be all nerves by then.
No, I'm really not.
You're no fun.
Sorry.
Wow.
Just not.
Wow.
Just not.
Just no selling.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. What's your go-to Super Bowl tradition?
I don't really have a tradition.
Or go to Super Bowl meal or snack or whatever.
I don't really have one. Honestly,
wow. Are you even American? I'm the Canadian one on this podcast.
Honestly, the thing with the Super Bowl just makes me think of my birthday.
Oh, your birthday's coming up.
In every like couple years, it ends up on my birthday. So, yep.
Okay.
February 6th.
And yet nothing.
Oh, real quick, Ginger Wolf mentions, and I do want to mention this, because I don't think we did this on. No, we haven't done a podcast since it. The Royal Rumble was this past Sunday. I'm getting wrestling talk right now, and the Royal Rumble was amazing, absolutely amazing. The men's Royal Rumble had so many great stories. Brock Lesnar being this impossible monster that was just throwing everyone out. And you had the Kofi Kingston and Big E spot with Rey Mysterio potentially going against him and then not working. And then the payoff of Brock Lesnar doing a low blow onto Ricochet on Monday Night Raw, and then Ricochet doing the same thing back. And then having Drew McIntyre eliminate him. And then you have the rest of the Rumble after that. It was like halfway. And then you have Edge coming back and just the build and Drew McIntyre winning. Oh, the men's Rumble was just absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. For anyone out there that is a lapsed wrestling fan that enjoyed Edge, go watch the Royal Rumble just to see him return after 9 years being forced to retire, and the pop that he got when that music hit. His music might be one of the best wrestling intros for a guy coming back after having to retire. It's just so good. Ginger Wolf, you messed up.
That can of worms just got ripped open.
Ginger Wolf was the one who said wrestling chat ?
Well, so for anyone who's been following along on Twitter, I jokingly, every time Jake tweets something about wrestling, which is often, I should add.
It's become more frequent, I think, mainly because Tottenham's become very depressing for me.
Irrelevant.
They've become very depressing. And
you're just the classic Southern California sports fan. You're just team hopping.
No, I'm not.
Team hopping.
Well, wrestling storytelling.
Or sport hopping.
Show skipping.
Anyway, whatever. So the point is, every time that Jake tweets something about wrestling, I respond wrestling tweet to point out that this is wrestling. And people have even commented saying, hey, Felix, thank you for pointing this out. Now I know to ignore this tweet. So,
well, I mean, in order to read your reply, they had to see my tweet. So
no, ignore that. Overlook that. But so now what's happened is I tweet the word wrestling so often that my Twitter thinks I like wrestling. So when I go to check the suggested page, the suggested tab where it's giving you news stories you might be interested in, I'm getting wrestling updates.
It's the best thing ever.
I don't want these. This is not what I want. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. All right.
Twitter's trying to tell you something.
No, it's just telling me how its algorithm works. That's all it's telling me.
And all yet you keep tweeting wrestling.
I mean, at this point, I might as well. I'm already screwed as it is.
You're already in the hole.
Yeah, Jake tweeted out a good screenshot of me realizing this.
It was too good of a text message to not tweet out. Don't worry. I made sure to scroll up so the only you could see was also that part of the message.
The questionable thing about that though is your iPhone is not in dark mode.
No, I don't like dark mode.
Bad call.
By the way,
For anyone who's listening, let us know dark mode or light mode for.
By the
for
way,
life.
Diehard 24 Fan 24 said one of the best Rumbles since he started watching. Boom. Second opinion.
Fake.
Scripted.
Scripted.
It's a performance art.
All right. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, we had our fun tangents.
Let's.
You did this. You did this by bringing up the 49ers.
No, it's topical. It's the Super Bowl. Everyone's talking about the Super Bowl. No one cares about wrestling. Anyway, alrighty, folks. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for listening along. Thanks for making it through. We appreciate your listenership. If you'd like to support the show further, check out our Patreon page where we post 2 bonus episodes a month if you contribute $5 a month. Really worth it. We go into deeper diving topics around the league. We did a recap of the Ducks decade at the end of last year. That's at patreon.com/acpod. For $1 a month, you also get access, or you do get access to a why am I forgetting the term now? Stitcher, not Stitcher. Discord. God, I'm so sorry. Rusty, I'm like the Ducks. I'm coming off the bye week, I'm coming off the bye week. Anyway, you get access to a Discord chat. It's a lot of fun. We go back and forth during the games. It's a little more unfiltered, so there's some more colorful language in there. It's a lot of fun. Check that out. Patreon.com/acpod. If you don't want to spend any money, hey, fair enough. You can definitely still support us, though. Go and check us out on the Apple Podcast app. Just type in Anaheim Calling. Leave a rating and a review if you've been enjoying the show. We really appreciate that. Goes a long way. It's a permanent contribution, and it just takes a couple minutes of your time. Definitely go check that out. If you're not on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast, Stitcher, like Jake mentioned already, YouTube, Spotify. Check us out on social media. Jake is on Twitter at ReindeerGames91. I'm on Twitter at Felix_Sicard. Jake, you got anything going on article-wise? I mean, Jake has a couple articles up at AnaheimCalling.com right now, which you should also check out, that are kind of timeless. I mean, the topics don't really go away.
It's just breaking down trade value, more
taking
or less.
a look at positional breakdown of trade value, and I thought that well done. And if you're a Ducks fan that's kind of looking for a primer for what should probably be a disappointing trade deadline,
wow.
Go check that out.
Trade junk.
Yeah, well, keep in mind Jake is absolutely trade junk. Jake is off of his trade gourd, so just keep that in mind. I am on Twitter as well, like I said, at Felix_Sicard. I have an article coming up at the 4th period, which should be hopefully by the end of the week. So stay tuned for that. And that's all I've got. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We will be back this weekend. Have a good one.
Bye.